I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening to join us and listen about kind of the rest of your son or daughter's senior year and all the exciting things that are going to be going on at Christ the King. Um, my name is Mr. Boehner. I'm the assistant principal at Christ the King, and I serve as the senior team lead at the school. You'll also be hearing tonight from Sarah Burke, who is our college counselor, Alicia Lowry. Alicia, I'm going to butcher your position, but it's college counselor and career counseling, I believe.
College and Career Success Coordinator.
It's close. I was close. And we're also going to be hearing from Ms. Rocks, who is our director of Christian Service and Social Justice. So without any further ado, I want to just kind of get started with the presentation. On your screen, you should be seeing a PowerPoint that we are sharing. You might be looking at that screen and saying class of 2027, and you might be thinking to yourself, what's that about? But that is the year that we expect your child to be graduating from college 4 years from now. So we're kind of setting that expectation of what we're seeing when we accept your child here at Christ the King. We are not just saying that your child's going to graduate from Christ the King, but we want to prepare them with the tools to ensure that they are successful at the next level as well. So tonight for our presentation, there's basically going to be two parts to this presentation. The first part is going to be kind of led by me and some of the other people I just mentioned, and it's going to include like wrapping up senior year. That's going to take a look at like everything your child needs to be able to do to graduate on time. Part of that including Christian service and Christian service hours, and then CWSP. And then Miss Lowry is going to talk about kind of our senior activities update, as she is our senior activities person. The second part of this is going to be like your next steps in the college process for your child, both in terms of like making the decision of what is the right fit for your son or daughter, and also the financial aid piece as well. So again, here is a list of all of the schools that our students have been accepted to so far this year. Very, I mean, many more beyond this, but this is just a list of some of the schools that we've seen so far. And we're just really excited about all of the hard work that your sons and daughters have done to get themselves set up to for success next year. So I'm going to start off with the graduation requirements. So here are the things that the students need to do to ensure that they are able to walk across the stage on June 2nd and receive their diploma. So in order to graduate, you need to pass all your classes. Number two, you have to have no outstanding credits or classes to recover. So if a student, let's say hypothetically, a student failed a class in semester one, they need to make sure that they've recovered that credit by the time graduation happens. They need to have complete their 15 service hours in their senior year, their 15-hour requirement, which Ms. Rocks will talk a little bit more about in a second. And also they have to make sure that they've made up any outstanding hours from junior year. So if they haven't completed, if they have any outstanding, any that they haven't completed, they need to make sure that those are completed as well. They have to pass CWSP and have to ensure that they have no makeup days with CWSP. They need to fulfill the senior Kairos requirement. Half of our senior class went on their Kairos trip this past weekend, so half of them have already completed their requirement. And then finally, they need to satisfy the college requirement. They need to take the SAT 2 times. They need to apply to 8 colleges, and they need to complete the FAFSA form. So with that being said, some of you might be thinking in your head right now, how do I know if my student, where they stand relative to that? Yesterday, we mailed out letters that includes all of this information and where your child stands relative in each of these categories. And at the bottom of it, it will say, is your child on track to graduate? Like if graduation was today, would they be eligible to graduate? If they are not eligible to graduate as of today, next to that, it will say what it is that they are missing. Are they missing service hours? Are they currently failing a class? Do they have an outstanding class that they need to recover? So that will help you have a more informed conversation with your child so that you can help guide them into whatever it is they need to do in order to be successful. Now, the one thing I do want to say is if it says your child is not on track as of right now today to graduate, that might not be a huge deal. If they need to get 15 service hours, if they've got 10 service hours and they just need another 5, then they get their another 5 and then they're good to go. But if you've got a situation where your student is deficient in a multitude of categories, now is the time to start getting those things in order, because It seems like graduation is really, really far away, but the reality is we are approaching about 30 more instructional days of class between March, April, and May. And the end line will be here much, much sooner than we actually think. So make sure we start handling our business now so that there's no one who's disappointed come graduation day. Relatedly to graduation success is attendance. And again, one of the issues that we've seen a lot this year is just students missing a lot of school. Every research study that's been done on this, and there are many, show that there is a strong correlation between attendance in school and academic success. And so we want to ensure that our students are coming to school every day, even if they're late, like if they're not here by the start of period, then get them here as soon as you can, because we don't want students missing school, because that's when they start digging holes from themselves that become hard to get out of. So our ask of you, we want to make sure that students are here on time. Class starts at 7:40. Please have them here by 7:40. Even if they're not late, get them, or even if they are late, get them here as quickly as possible. Even if they miss part of first period, we'd rather them be here for periods 2nd through 8th than not here at all. And try, limit those unexcused absences, especially at this time of year. We know that especially as we start getting into April and May and some of the exciting things start happening like senior luncheon and grad night and all of the fun stuff that we're looking forward to, that's when students start getting pulled out to get hair done or nails done or stuff like that. We really ask, if possible, try to set up those appointments either after school or on the weekend so that the students are not missing instructional time. Without any further ado, I'm going to pass the mic over to Miss Maura Rocks, who's going to talk about service hours, as we have lots of students who need to get caught up on their service hours before the end of the school year. Ms. Rocks?
Hi, everyone. In the chat, I have sent you a document that is an overview of all the requirements I'm going to talk about for the next few minutes, and then also all of the links to forms and other documents if you want to access them while I'm sharing. So at this point, hopefully we all know that seniors are required to complete 15 service and justice hours in their senior year, plus any additional hours that were incomplete from last year. We can move on to the next slide. We're going to go pretty quick through these. Hours are due in 2 months from today. So you received an email from me this afternoon that outlined these next 2 months and the requirements in detail. Feel free to take a look at that email. But all service hours need to be approved, submitted, and verified by a supervisor by the state. So it's really important that you prioritize these next 2 months, including spring break, to get any outstanding hours done. Next slide. Students log their hours on MobileServe, which is our online service tracking platform. Every student has an account that they can access through their CTK Gmail account. We ask that when students do service, they log their service hours immediately after serving. And it's really important that they have an accurate email address for the adult who was present while they supervised, because that's an important step in getting service hours verified. If you students need help in figuring out how to log hours, there's a step-by-step guide we've created, and I'm also happy to show them how to do that in school. Next slide. Students can check how many hours they've completed first and foremost through the status letter that Mr. Boehner sent out. You can see your status there. You also can check your status for yourself on MobileServe. That number should be right in the front of your screen when you log in. So students have 3 different pathways to complete service hours at CTK. As juniors and seniors, they can do that independently, serving at the service site of their choice. And we provide a lot of different options for them to do that. So the first option is that they can choose a service site from a pre-approved list. They can serve at an outside service site and propose it through a form that we provide, or they can serve with Christ the King. So I'm going to walk you through those 3 options really quickly. The first option is we have a list of service opportunities that students can simply sign up and show up. These are partners in the community, as close as down the street and in the western suburbs, on the south side, across the city. Students can serve at these organizations after school or on the weekends. There's a lot of really great organizations on this list that have consistent service opportunities, and we I would recommend looking at this list and seeing if there's any opportunities that might be good possibilities for spring break. So all of these are already approved and easy to just sign up and show up. The second option is that if you're partnered with a nonprofit in your community, so maybe a church or your old grade school, or a homeless shelter or a pantry, you might want to serve at an organization that's not on our list of approved sites. And it's very easy to get that approved. All you have to do is fill out a proposal form that tells me a little bit about what the site is and how you plan on serving. This is a requirement if you're serving at an organization that's not on our list of pre-approved sites. And so what's really important is it has to be a nonprofit organization serving people in need. So you fill out that form really quickly if you'd like to serve outside of our list of approved sites. And then last, we also opportunities here at CTK. We have opportunities on the weekends for students to do service with us. Virtual permission slips for these opportunities are shared in the weekly newsletter. It's important that students do not rely on our experiences to fulfill their entire requirement. We don't have enough opportunities or space for them to be able to do that, because we do prioritize making sure that there's space on these experiences for our underclassmen. So this is a great way to enhance or kind of round out your service experience, but don't rely on this to get all of your hours done. So those are your three options. Really quickly, if you just need a little clarity on what we consider service hours here at CTK, you can go to the next slide. We want to make sure that all of the sites that students serve at are approved by our office. And we just want to make sure that we know where students are serving and how they're serving their community. And so that form is an important form to fill out, especially if you want to serve outside of CTK. We want to make sure that service is done at a nonprofit organization serving people on the margins and people in need. That's how we define Christian service here. And so students cannot earn service hours at home, for family or friends or neighbors, or at for-profit organizations or companies. We like to think of it as working for free is not the same as doing Christian service. We really want your student to be out in the community serving people in need. Service also, this is very important for seniors, cannot be done during the school day. That includes CWSP work days and class days. So students are not able to take a day off of school to complete their service hours. All service hours have to be completed after school, on the weekends, or on days off of school when the school is not in session. And service also has to be completed during this school year. So anytime between July 1st and June 3rd, we will count for credit. You might have, your child might have submitted service hours and they have not been approved yet by our office. And there are some pretty easy and quick reasons why that might be the case. They might not have been verified by a supervisor. So a supervisor is required to be listed when they log service hours on MobileServe. They have to include an adult who is present to verify that they did the service that they're reporting. MobileServe sends an email to that adult, and the adult needs to follow some simple instructions to verify the student service. If that hasn't happened, the service approval process gets stalled. Also, students have to make sure that the site that they're logging hours at has already been approved by our office. So if the site has not been approved, that's another reason that the process stalls. And then what's important, as we have mentioned already, and we'll mention again later, completion of service requirements is a graduation requirement, but it's also a requirement to participate in graduation activities. So if students do not complete their service and justice requirements, they will be ineligible to participate in any graduation activity. That includes grad night, prom, luncheon, and then the graduation ceremony. And so it's really important that you prioritize that deadline of April 28th. Make sure that all hours are done, all 15 from this year, plus any outstanding from the previous year. All right, and last but not least, some next steps. I would suggest next steps for you and your student is to just review the requirements and then make a plan, figure out where you're going to go do service and when. If you want to serve outside of CTK, make sure you propose that nonprofit site to me so I can approve it. And then I would suggest prioritizing the weekends that are coming up and then spring break. as best as students can get things done over spring break, when we have 5 days off of school, that would be a really great time to get these hours done. I'm here to be a support. Feel free to reach out to me, give me a call, or send me an email. Students are always welcome to stop by campus ministry during advisory, and I'm happy to suggest service sites, answer questions, whatever students need in this process. So that's all I have. If you have questions, feel free to send me an email. Thank you so much for your partnership in supporting students and getting this requirement done. But let us always remember that the reason we do this requirement is because this is part of our mission here as Christ the King. We are forming your students into men and women for others for the greater glory of God. And that's why we serve in the community. So thank you again, and I'll pass it back to Mr. Boehner.
Thank you, Ms. Rocks. Again, just hit home what Ms. Rocks said. Service hours, so important. I've personally spoken with all of the students who I teach in my AP psychology classes about the importance of service and how we need to make sure that we're handling our business. So please, if you've not already done so, talk with your student about those service hour requirements, because they are just so important to not only ensuring graduation, but living out our mission here at CTK. The slide I just put up, this is relative to CWSP. Just a couple of quick pieces of information related to CWSP, as CWSP is part of our graduation requirement as well. The last day of deployment is Tuesday, May 23rd. So students that have outstanding days to make up, and if you're not sure if your student has an outstanding day to make up, on that letter I talked about earlier, it will list how many outstanding service or outstanding CWSP days they have left. All CWSP days must be made up by May 31st in order to graduate. So make sure if they have outstanding days that they're working with the CWSP relationship coordinators and starting to schedule those days. The makeup options are listed down below. And you can see for the most part, there is transportation for most of these opportunities. The ones that have limited transportation are that April 7th, 10th, and 11th. Those are kind of the days that bookend the Easter holiday weekend. So we won't have anyone here in the building for those days, which is why there's no transportation. But for the rest of the days, we will have people on staff. And so if your student needs to make up a day, those would be the options. As Ms. Rock said about using spring break to make up service hours, I highly encourage students to use spring break to make up outstanding CWSP days that they need to do as well. So now that we spent a whole bunch of time talking about graduation requirements, let's talk about all the fun stuff that the seniors get to do. So with that being said, I'm going to hand the baton off to Ms. Lowry, who's going to talk about all of the wonderful senior activity stuff going forward.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I will be talking about our senior activities. A lot of you have called me today about questions, so I'm going to clear up some of those questions that you have today. Next slide. Ooh. All right, so the first one is the graduation fees and tuition payments. The deadline to make your final payment is Thursday, May 25th by 5 p.m. So all checks and money orders must be paid. After that, you'll have to send them to Mr. Rububla. I can't really pronounce his name. Do you know how to pronounce it, Mr. Boehner? I always pronounce it incorrectly. Rubalcaba. So that will be your final payment to him. And then also diplomas will be able to be picked up after Tuesday, June 6th at 9 a.m. So senior week will be May 15th through the 19th. So the senior committee is currently planning some activities. Those will be coming out really soon. I know one that they're really expecting is Senior Day, where they're going to come in and dress as senior citizens. So we're really excited about that one. So they're trying to narrow down some other days, but so to be continued, we'll send out some dates about those. All right, so the fun pack. So the fun pack will include their senior prom tickets, luncheon, and also grad night. So the cost of that will be $200. So the deadline for students to make those payments is March 31st. So some things to keep in mind. So like Ms. Rocks and Mr. Boehner stated, students need to complete all their service hours before they can attend any senior activities, as well as Saturday prep in all communities. So all of that is stated in the letter that Mr. Boehner sent out yesterday. All right, so grad night. So grad night will be Saturday, May 13th. So all the students need to arrive at CTK by 8:30 p.m. So we will be departing promptly at 9 p.m. And then the students will return at 5 a.m. So students will need their rides at CTK at 5 a.m. So if they miss the bus, they will not be able to attend, and then they will not also receive a refund. All right, prom. So prom will be May 20th. The theme for prom this year is Diamonds Are Forever. So prom will be located at the Hyatt McCormick Place. It will be located in the Prairie Room. So if anyone needs any questions, let me know. All students need to arrive by 9 p.m. So all the dress requirements are in the senior packet. So if you want to review those, they have some examples of dresses and also some tuxes for the young men as well. Prom court, that will be voting during senior week, and then those winners will be announced at prom. And then the last thing is senior luncheon. So that will be Thursday, May 25th at Maggiano's in Oak Brook. So it will be from 1 to 3 p.m. So the cost is $35. So that is included in the senior pack. So for example, if the students want to bring additional guests, so that would be additional $35 per person. So right now we're limited to only 2 guests per student. But once I have final numbers after March 31st, I will send an update release April 10th if students want to invite other guests to attend prom with them as well. Luncheon with them as well.
Okay, I'm going to jump back in for the last few of these because these are kind of related to graduation. So on Tuesday, May 30th, we will be doing our baccalaureate mass. The baccalaureate mass is typically the last mass before graduation. So it's our last opportunity for all the seniors and the families to get together to celebrate before they head off to graduation. That will be Tuesday, May 30th at Our Lady of Sorrows, which is just east of the school. It's 3121 West Jackson Boulevard. It is a beautiful, beautiful facility. We encourage for you to bring as many family members as you'd like to help celebrate our seniors that night. The mass will be from 6 to 7:30. 2 days after that, Thursday, June 1st, is going to be graduation rehearsal. Graduation rehearsal, very, very exciting time. It's going to be the day the students get their caps and gowns. But it's really, 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 really important that students show up on time. Because when they don't, I've seen it before. I've been here 14 years, seen it when graduation rehearsal takes forever because students are coming late and it's a big production. We want to ensure students get there on time so that we can get students in and out very expediently. And then the day that we've all been looking for on Friday the 2nd is graduation. Students need to arrive at CTK by 12 p.m. I know I've been receiving a lot of questions about the number of tickets for graduation. Each student will receive 6 tickets for graduation. We will also live stream the graduation on our CTK YouTube page. There is an opportunity for some, if we need more tickets, some families, once we kind of see how many tickets each student is actually going to need, we might be able to open that up and offer for more families. For instance, like let's say a student's like, I only have 2 people coming. Well, then that's 4 extra tickets that we can put out, but we won't know that data or that information until we get closer to the date. So if that's something that you're interested in, please make sure you communicate that with me and I can put you on the list if we have any extra tickets. On the bottom is our dress code for the event. Again, this is a special occasion, so the students should be dressed nicely. No jeans, no t-shirts, no leggings, no flip-flops, no shorts. Gentlemen should be in a tie. And caps are not allowed to be decorated. That's kind of one of our policies that we've had. I know I've gotten a lot of questions about that. No decorated caps. The one thing that gentlemen can do, we often see a lot of kids that they're not allowed to have their ears pierced at Christ the King. And then they're like, oh, I'm about to graduate. Now I want to get my ears pierced. Gentlemen are allowed to wear earrings to graduation if they would like. And then for shoes, they should be wearing dress shoes or formal gym shoes. And I strongly, strongly encourage the ladies not to wear the really big high heels, the 6-7 inch stilettos, because there's a lot of stairs and a lot of walking. And I've seen it go very badly at graduation. So I would avoid that at all costs. Other graduation reminders for the guests coming to graduation, the graduation doors will open at 1 and they will close at 2. At 2 o'clock, we will do our processional. And once the processional starts, the doors will close at 2 p.m. for the ceremony. Balloons are not allowed in the gym because they get broken off the strings and then they get stuck in the ceilings. The diplomas will be distributed at graduation as long as all of the tuition and outstanding balances have been paid. If not, kind of like we discussed earlier, those will have to be settled up with Mr. Rubalclava, and that would be after June 7th. Okay, and then official transcripts will be mailed out to the colleges after the completion of the exit interview. And then last but not least, about the valedictorian and the salutatorian. Valedictorian and salutatorian will be confirmed on Monday, May 22nd. So what we will do is we'll, at that point, that'll be the point kind of going into final exams. We'll pull GPAs and we'll determine who the valedictorian and salutatorian is so that we can give them ample time to start working on their speeches for the baccalaureate mass and then also for the graduation ceremony. In addition to those two opportunities, there will be other speaking opportunities for students that are interested in speaking to their class. 2 peers will have the opportunity to speak in at the senior luncheon, and then we will also provide a second opportunity for a student to speak at graduation. So with that being said, I'm sure many people have questions. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm putting my work email into the chat so that everybody can see it. At this point, we're going to transition to the college portion of the presentation. I'm going to have to excuse myself as we're getting ready to host the sectional tournament tonight. If there are any questions related to graduation requirements, related to any of the senior activities, please feel free to email me and I will do my best to answer them as quickly as possible. And if I don't have the answer, I will direct you to the person who does have the answer. So with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful night. And Ms. Burke, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Boehner. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. So now that we've discussed all of the fun events that are coming up for senior year, we also wanted to cover the next steps in the college process, as decision day will be here before we know it, and we have a lot to cover before we get to May 1st. But first, wanted to take the opportunity to introduce our team. I am counselor here. We have Mrs. Ashley Joyner, who is our alumni counselor, who will be supporting our seniors after they graduate. And then we have Miss Alicia Lowry on our team as well. Shout out to Miss Lowry, as she's been sharing a lot of great scholarship opportunities with our seniors. You may have seen some emails come through, so please be sure that you are checking those scholarships out, because there's a lot of great resources to make college a little bit more affordable for next year and the years to come. With that, I just wanted to give all the parents a moment to go ahead and scan this QR code. We do have some questions on here related to college, regarding, you know, how you are feeling about taking out loans, how much out-of-pocket costs you are expecting for next year. This will really help our college team to guide our support for your students this year. So just want to make sure that we have your updated contact information, and ask that you complete that survey this evening as well. Okay. So next steps in the process, what to expect from right now until we get to graduation. We highly encourage those who have been selected for verification for FAFSA to complete that process as soon as possible. I will come back to that in just a moment. We want all of our seniors to continue to send us all their acceptance and denial letters from schools. Super crucial to send us any financial aid award letters that they receive and any information about external scholarships that they've received. So if your student has been given a scholarship outside or a college, we definitely want to celebrate that here. We also want to take that into our calculations of how much their out-of-pocket costs will be for school. As a family, we want students and parents to begin to evaluate and compare financial aid packages. So really determine what those unmet needs are for each school and how much school is going to cost through loans, gift aid, and work study. How are you paying for school? So for folks who've been selected for verification, I've spoken to your students, I've sent you an email, but the major thing I want you to take away from verification is not to panic. It's not necessarily anything you did wrong. A lot of the time it's, a random selection of folks being selected for verification. But there is some urgency in getting the verification process completed, because some schools will withhold your financial aid until you go through those steps of verification. So this again is only for students who've been selected for verification. And if your student has been selected, I have spoken to them. So for some of you, you can, disregard what this slide is sharing. But for the folks that are selected for verification, I just want to make sure that your student is going through those steps to make sure that the school that they would like to go to has everything they need to confirm your financial information provided. So the most common form of verification is the dependent student verification form or an IRS transcript request form. Those are very common forms. They most likely can be found on the school's website. The schools sometimes even send it to students directly to be filled out. I'm happy to print any documents or scan any documents over for students. But again, if you have been flagged for verification, I do ask that you have some urgency in filling out these verification steps, just so your student knows how much college will cost for them. When in doubt, the school's financial aid office is the best resource. So you can pick up the phone, give them a call, send them an email, and they will be able to walk you step by step of what they need in order to verify your information. I'm also hosting office hours after school on Thursdays. So if you or your student have questions about verification, have your student stop by my office. I'm happy to help. And again, I'm happy to print, scan, fax, anything that needs to be sent to schools. All right, so financial aid. This is something that we've been talking a lot with your seniors about. But just kind of want to go through the basics of what's included in a financial aid offer and the different terminology that goes with it. So gift aid is just like it sounds. It is a gift to our students. It's free money and you do not need to pay it back. So gift aid can be given in two forms. That's through grants or scholarships. So very common grants that you will see on your students' award letters are the MAP grant, that's from the state of Illinois, and the Pell Grant, which is from the federal government. So those grants are need-based, and again, it's free money that you do not need to pay back. For the MAP grant, that is only given to students from the state of Illinois who choose to go to school in Illinois. But you should see the Pell Grant if you are eligible for it on each award letter that your student gets. As for scholarships, some scholarships are need-based, meaning based on financial need. So based on your FAFSA, your EFC, and some are based on merit. So meaning on your student's academic success. One major thing that we want to call out for scholarships are that some are renewable and some are non-renewable, meaning that sometimes students are awarded a scholarship only for 1 year. We love to ask that question when we're looking at award letters, just to make sure that if your student is awarded a scholarship, to make sure that money is going to be a reoccurring gift each year to your student. The other type of aid you will see on award letters is called self-help aid. And this is typically through loans or federal work study, meaning it's money that's borrowed or that you would have to earn. So the most common types of loans that our students typically take out are direct subsidized and unsubsidized loans through the federal government. That adds up typically to around $5,500 per year. And again, those are the most common types of loans that students take out. Students do not need to pay those loans back until 6 months after they graduate. They have a little bit of a grace period until they start paying those back. Now we have the Direct Plus loan, which is also known as the Parent Plus loan, which I will speak about in a minute, and also private loans. As far as federal work study goes, these are jobs on school's campus where students can work to help pay for either their tuition or personal expenses. We think work study is a good opportunity to help students pay for school. However, we want to use federal work study funds sparingly when we're calculating, how much your out-of-pocket cost will be, just because work study funds are not guaranteed. Just because you have work study on your award letter doesn't mean that there's a job waiting for your student once they arrive to campus. So those calculations might not be exact. So we suggest using the work study funds that are listed on an award letter as an estimated amount of money that you could use for personal expenses or things like books. So the Direct Plus loan, aka the Parent Plus loan, would be a loan that you as the parent could take out on behalf of your student to help them pay for their education, for that gap between their cost of attendance and the aid offered to them. So the thing about the Parent Plus loan is that parents do have to pass a credit check in order to be awarded this loan. This loan also is not one where you have that grace period, right? You would actually have to be paying this loan while your child is in school. So, beginning freshman year, when that first tuition payment goes through, that's when you have to start paying that loan back. It's different than the loans that your student would be taking out through the subsidized and unsubsidized federal loans. If you are denied a Parent Plus loan, however, there is a benefit that you could receive, or your student, I should say, could receive an additional up to $4,000 of direct unsubsidized loans. So even if you don't think you would pass that credit check, there is an opportunity for you to get more loan aid if you go through with that process. So if anyone has questions as they're going through this, obviously I'm here to help, but just wanted to let you know of the different types of potential loans. I think the last one we have listed here are private and alternative loans. We want students to use these very, very sparingly, just because, as we all know, some lending institutions have different types of terms, conditions. Some do have low interest rates, flexible repayment plans, but others may have certain fees that may require you to pay off these loans while in school. So we really try to have families avoid these as much as possible. But if you do go down this route, just please be sure that you're doing your research and making sure that you are reading the different policies to make sure it's the best option for your family. All right, so an award letter is a letter that your student will receive that will spell out all of the financial aid awarded to your student for just 1 year. Okay, so it will have the cost of attendance on there, hopefully including tuition, fees, room and board, with all of the gift aid and self-help aid awarded to your student. One thing I want to call out, unfortunately, there's not one standard format for financial aid award letters. So they all may look a little bit different, but we've started to collect these from students. We've shown examples in class. I'm about to show an example shortly, just to get you familiar with what an award letter might be and what you want to look for. Things that you want to be aware of. You want to understand if all costs are included in your cost of attendance, meaning are schools saying, this is what it will cost for tuition, room and board, books, travel, personal expenses. Is that all included in the cost of attendance? That question of, is the scholarship my son or daughter received, is that renewable? We definitely want to make sure that if they're getting that award, that it will be reoccurring each year. Sometimes schools are a little bit sneaky. They say that they're going to meet all of your financial need. However, they do sneak in that Parent Plus loan at the bottom of the letter. So make sure that you are keeping an eye out for that Parent Plus loan. Again, we want to avoid that as much as possible. We want to know when that award letter is due, meaning you have to accept those scholarships, those grants, those loans. So you want to be sure you know when that information is due and what are those steps that you have to take to accept those financial aid offerings. So this is an example of an award letter from last year for Southern Illinois University Carbondale. So a few things that I wanted to call out here. At the top, you can see it has the cost of attendance, expected family contribution, listing out the financial need for this school. When we're looking at the cost of attendance, ideally, we would really like to see here the breakdown between tuition, fees, room and board to see what is actually being included in that calculation. Because things like books, things like travel, things like personal expenses will all look very different for each of your students, right? So we want to make sure that, that cost of attendance is including tuition, fees, room and board, and that those other, expected costs are not piled in there. If you look here at the first box outlined in red, it has gift aid. So it has that Illinois MAP grant that I had referenced before, the Pell Grant, and then 2 scholarships, the Saluki Commitment and Saluki Gold Scholarship. So again, a great question we would want to ask are these scholarships renewable? And then below that, we have the federal direct subsidized loan, federal direct unsubsidized loan, and work study. So again, we want to make sure that we are not really including that work study calculation in here when we're looking at our financial aid total to calculate the gap between how much the cost of attendance is and the aid offered, because we want to use that work study for things, again, such as books, personal expenses, because that money, that $3,000 is not guaranteed. Again, your student does not have a job lined up on campus waiting for them when they get there. If it says federal work study, there are a few additional steps you need to take. So we just want to be cautious and not include that in our total calculations. So when you're looking at your award letter, you want to determine what your out-of-pocket costs are. Meaning the amount that the family must pay, earn, or borrow, and understand your unmet need or that gap between the total cost of attendance and how much aid you're given. What is that gap there, and how large is that gap? One thing I wanted to add is that we want to make sure, or our suggestion for students and families is for that gap not to be above $5,000. And with your students' award letters, we're collecting them, putting them in a spreadsheet and creating personalized guides for students and breaking down each award letter they give us and comparing them. So a great incentive for our students to submit award letters to the college counseling team is that we can help you all compare those costs together to really guide your decision-making process. So what else should you be thinking about? How much of your financial aid is in loans, meaning money that you will have to pay back? Can your family afford the out-of-pocket cost? And are the work study funds provided needed to cover tuition and fees? Or can you use those work study funds to be used for your personal expenses and books? So if you get an award letter and let's say, your family's financial background has changed, maybe someone has lost a job recently, you most certainly can appeal the award letter that a school has given you. So you can reach out to me, you can reach out to the school's financial aid office, and really just let them know of your financial circumstances. Some schools may be more lenient than others, but if it is your student's top choice, it's definitely worth to ask the question. All right, so next steps in the process, we are having all of our seniors meet with me and Ms. Lowry during the second semester. So the way our caseloads kind of work, anyone that is in third period consumer ec, previously third period college prep, is going to be working with Ms. Lowry. Everyone else is working with me. So we want our students to continue to send us all of their acceptances, again, so we can celebrate those acceptances, denials and waitlist decisions, just so we can see what options students have, how we can support them through these next steps. Any outside scholarship notifications, we want to go ahead and review acceptances, discuss those award letters, use that tool to compare all the offers that they've been given, and ultimately find a school that meets your best financial need and other important fit factors like your major, location, campus environment, campus culture, all those things that are important in making your decision. So May 1st is the national decision day, meaning that most schools will require a housing deposit or a deposit by May 1st in order to secure your spot. So students have up until May 1st to make that decision. Any school that a student has been accepted to is holding their spot at that school until May 1st. If you do not put your deposit in by May 1st, that seat may be given up to another student who was waitlisted. So we just want to make sure that students are preparing for that decision day by meeting with us before they make that decision, just to make sure they know what they're signing up for from a financial aid standpoint, and make sure your family's on board for that too. Once students make their decision, they're going to go ahead and accept their financial aid, go through the front process of selecting their housing and meal plans if necessary, if they're living on campus, sign up for orientation, and again, submit that deposit or intent to enroll. Deposits are non-refundable. So that's, again, one of those reasons why we want to meet with students before they make that final decision, just to go over financial aid, ensure that, this is the best fit school for, your student and your family, because if they do put that deposit down and change their mind, that's money that unfortunately you cannot get back. And then a really exciting day here at CTK, we will be celebrating our signing day on Monday, May 13th at 9:30 a.m. So you and your families are welcome to come join us. This is an opportunity for our seniors to go ahead and tell us where they've decided to go next year or their plans for after CTK. It's a really exciting celebration, so all are welcome to be a part of it. One last thing, I think Mr. Boehner had mentioned this before, but we do conduct exit interviews with all of our seniors. And this is done by myself and our alumni counselor, Mrs. Joyner. This is a way to just confirm that students have reviewed their college decision, make sure that they know how to sign up for housing, they know how to sign up for orientation, they've connected with their academic advisor to sign up for classes, all those important things, just to make sure they have that ready to go before they leave us here at CTK. So in order for schools to get a student's final transcript, aka their proof of graduation, students do have to complete an exit interview with Mrs. Joyner or I in order for us to send that final transcript to the school of their choice. The final transcript will also only be sent as well if the school's balance with CTK is at 0, and that they do complete that exit interview as well. I know that was a lot of information, but I'm putting my email here so you know how to contact me. But please do not hesitate to reach out to me, send me an email, give me a call. I'm happy to meet with you in person to go over financial aid with you and your student. It's a really exciting time, but it also can be pretty stressful. So I totally understand, and I'm here to help get your student across that graduation stage and to campus next fall. And that is it for tonight. I want to thank all of our friends who've presented, and thank you all for being here. And yes, that is it. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.